Hello. I always get nervous in these first couple of minutes. Dun, dun, dun.
No, remember.
Hello, everybody.
To update you all, we are trying to get Carole Baskin on, but she's having some issues logging in at the moment.
So please bear with us.
Don't leave
We will
yet.
with you momentarily.
Listen, that's enough. It's not. Remember what we talked about?
So yeah, we're just waiting on Carole. I think her browser won't let her log in. I think her browser is an issue. So she might be able to change her browser, or we might have to end this and then restart through Skype if she's got Skype.
But
if not, I'm fresh out.
With her, and we are working on it.
So yeah, thanks for I'm literally just waiting to find out what the next move is. I'm so excited.
Lucy. What? I love you. Hello, Karen. Hello, Tina.
So here it is. We wait.
And we wait. Yay, this is going to be so cool. I agree, Libby. And while we're waiting, I guess we kind of wanted to ask you guys to be very respectful. Don't ask any questions about the obvious husband thing.
Yeah, basically, we wanna talk to Carole about her life, about how she got into cats, how she ended up with cats, how she ended up in a reality TV with that other guy,
who I
Joe.
want to call Joe Dirt. So
yeah,
badly,
Joe Dirt. I suck. It's the mullet.
Joe Exotic.
Yeah, but we just call him Joe, and then we just want to like talk to her about how she got through COVID, how the year's been, like how the animals are doing, and then talk about how her life's been turned upside down with conspiracy theories and rumors and social media, and yeah, hopefully we're going to end up knowing a lot about Carole.
If she can log in.
Yeah, if she can log in. If not, this might be a bust.
Maybe we could reschedule if worst comes to worst, but hopefully she'll be able to log in.
Oh, she's in the room. She's here. She's make sure you have an active connection that is not blocked by the firewall. Retry. What the fuck? Screen share. I don't have an active firewall. I don't even know what the.
I mean, I got it in, so it might be her firewall.
Oh!
Do we have it?
Carole here.
Where?
You can't see her. You can't see
no,
her. Her screen's turned off. Carole, I don't know if you can you hear me right, Carole? Can you hear me right? I'm just gonna type.
Can you see her? Because I only see you and me.
Yeah, I can see her.
Look, she's typing. I hear you. Carole, I had an issue because I'm using my iPad for this, and I had to click on like settings and then audio and then change the audio. So maybe that's an issue too.
No, like I've got Carole in the green room. I don't know if you can hear, but should we just bring her on and do a really soft introduction? But I can delete all the comments on the restream chat that are nasty. So that's what we're going to be doing. All right. So you've been warned, guys.
Don't be rude. That's all. For anybody who has Netflix, you have probably seen the show Tiger King. Carole Baskin and Joe Exotic were the main, I don't know what to say, stars of the show.
Stars of the show.
And we have Carole Baskin.
Here she is.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
Hi, Carole.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi.
Amazing.
My name is Rachel. This is my husband, John.
I'm John, and you look lovely today, Carole.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to
Still
my
in cat print.
welcome to my Facebook and our little YouTube.
Facebook. Okay, that's where we are.
Yeah, we're on Facebook and we're on our little YouTube. Basically, hi. Rachel is a cat girl, and I am an anti-zoo, anti-petting zoo, anti-circus. I don't like any animal use. I don't even like working dogs. I think if you want to go get it, you go and get it, right? So I'm all about the animals, right? And last year or yesterday, you became like, you blew up on social media all over the world, and I'm really interested in who you are, so that's why I invited you, because I just want to talk to you about your life from before you had cats to when you had cats to now in COVID. And my wife is a huge cat fan, and I just wanted to share your journey of life. So that's why you're here.
I think there may have only been a few hours of my life before cats.
Aw, that's so cool.
Oh, from the beginning.
Can you hear John okay? Because I'm
I can.
hearing that he's breaking up. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Am I
Carole,
loud enough for you guys?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you
it's
so
good.
much
I'll have a cup of tea
for-
here.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is so exciting. Like, I'm like kind of freaking out internally a little bit. Like, I love you. I love this show. And we kind of wanted to kick it off. I know we only have an hour with you. So for those who have never seen the Tiger King, can you explain who you are and what you do involving the tigers?
Yeah, if people saw me in Tiger King, they have no idea who I am. They have a really whacked version of who I am. My name's Carole Baskin, and I said that there probably were only a few hours between me and cats in my life, and that's because the very first image of me is a baby being brought home from the hospital. My mother's carrying me, and my husband, I can't get this right, my father is carrying a cat.
One of those.
Yeah, it's been a long few days. And I didn't even know until just recently when I pulled the picture out of the photo album. You know how we used to have those sticky albums that we put pictures in? And so I pulled it out, and on the back it said the cat's name was Tiger. And I thought, well, isn't that prophetic?
Yeah, of course.
The idea that was the cat's name. And so I got involved with wildcats, bobcats, when I was 17. I left home at the age of 15. And when I was 17, I really wanted to be a vet, and I thought I wanted to work with domestic cats and to try and end the practice of killing cats in shelters due to overpopulation. I felt like aggressive spay and neuter programs is what was needed there. And so I spent a lot of time in vets' offices. And if a bobcat gets hit by a car, do you guys have bobcats where you live?
We don't have anything apart from farm animals and cats and dogs. That's England. That's all I've got.
Oh,
But you and I live in the same country, so you know what we've got.
So if a bobcat gets hit by a car, the vets can fix them up in 30 minutes to an hour, but then you're talking about, months of getting that cat ready for release back to the wild when it's in hunting shape. And so I would take the cats home and do that from the time that I was 17. And then
Like fostering.
Yeah.
Like a foster mom. Okay.
Except when you're fostering, you're trying to socialize the animal, whereas with a bobcat, you do not want them to imprint on you at all. So you want them to stay as wild as possible so they don't get in trouble with people once you release them. And when I was 31, I was at an auction with my husband, Don, and we were in real estate for a living, and we would buy llamas and turn them loose on big tracts of land because they clear about eye level, and then you could move them to the next big tract of land. So if you don't like working animals, you might not like my llama landscaping business, but the llamas liked it. And a guy came in with a 6-month-old bobcat, and she was like tucked into his neck, and she was just shaking, and she was so afraid. And if you can imagine a livestock auction and how loud that is and how obnoxious, and the animals are all scared. And the guy next to me starts bidding on this bobcat. And so I leaned over and I said, when that cat grows up, she's going to tear your face off, because there's nothing more wicked than a bobcat. They are just,
Hey, kitty.
It's not a kitty.
they are awful. And he said, I'm a taxidermist. I'm just going to club her in the head in the parking lot and make a den decoration out of her.
Oh.
Like taxidermy.
Yeah. So I started crying, and my husband started bidding, and we probably paid more for that bobcat than anybody's ever paid for a bobcat. But she wasn't in the parking lot that day. So she came home with us, and she was as wretched a pet as you might imagine, but they had deflawed her, so she couldn't be set free. And she would like get up on top of the refrigerator, and when my husband would come into the room, she'd launch down onto his head and start pulling his hair out. We had a German Shepherd. She chased that dog all over the place, just terrorizing it. My daughter was about 12 at the time. She was scared to death of the cat, and we named her Windsong. Lovely name, not a lovely personality in the cat. And instead of thinking, wow, this is a really stupid idea, my husband decided he wanted to find somebody that Windsong could live with. So he started calling around, and he found this guy that said he would sell us a mate for her, but we had to drive there in person. So we loaded up my daughter, who was 12, and a little friend of hers from school in our van. And we went up with a pet carrier to Minnesota, LaCinter, Minnesota. And when we got there, it was this big metal shed. And there's no sign out front that tells you what this is. And I'm thinking, who sells bobcats as pets? This is just crazy. And we go inside, and there's just row after row after row of these tiny little like rabbit hutches that have these bobcats and Canada lynx and Siberian lynx in them. And these cats were like up to their bellies in poop and chicken bones and rotting flesh and fur. And I asked the guy if there was this big of a market for them as pets. And he said, oh, no, we're a fur farm. Whatever we don't sell as pets, we'll slaughter the next year for their fur. I looked around the room, and it was so nasty in there. We had to put handkerchiefs over our faces to keep the flies from coming up our noses and in our mouths. And in the corner of the room, I saw this pile of dead cats, and they had just cut off this pretty white spotted fur from the belly, and the rest of the cats were laying.
But they're going to put on a collar or something.
Yeah.
Make something,
When you think of the Queen of England's collar, that's what you're talking about. And that's why I take like cats to make a tiny little boat.
So how many did you went there to get one? You went there to get a mate or a friend for the you had. How many did you end up leaving with?
56.
You go, girl.
By then we were in it.
That is some dedication. That is awesome.
Okay, and there it was. Right,
so you
incredible.
started off with 1, you wound up with 56. How many?
Well, 57, counting Windsong.
Okay, 57. So how many?
What year was that?
93.
Okay,
so
do
you have
what?
currently?
93. 93.
No, that was 1993.
Oh, no, I thought you said now you have 93. Sorry.
No, that was 1993.
I thought you said you have 93 now. Okay.
The next year we went back and got 28, including all of the adults. And then the following year we went to another fur farm, and we made a deal with the farmers at both farms. And we said, we'll pay top dollar for every cat you have as long as you never kill cats again for your fur. And so the third year we brought in 22, and that got rid of all of the fur farms in the US that were killing cats. There were still mink farms, but not cats. And then
so that's amazing. So you bought their stock and then contracted them in so they couldn't do it anymore. So you were ending their business.
Right.
And then they had to go off and do, mink farming or whatever. Okay, that's great that you've done that. And I would have that first one, I would have done the same. And I probably just would have stolen it. Like, probably just would have taken. Do you know what I mean? If he'd have said like, I'm going to buy that and kill it, I would have like felt like I needed to like intersect that like you did. I don't think I would have bid thousands and thousands, but that couldn't have died that day. But what's led legislation? What is the law? Because this sounds a little bit like this could never. I've never seen anything like that. Like fur farming is not legal here, right? But what's the legislation in America? Because it seems a little bit ropey. Like people selling animals to be skinned or for taxidermy or for breeding. Like, what's the big cat law in America?
Unfortunately, there's this huge patchwork of laws. You know, we have so many states, and every state has their own different law about it. And there's no overarching federal law that is the same for all of these animals across all of our states. And so that's what I started learning over the years, because after we took in, 56 cats and then 28 cats and then 22 cats, people started calling and saying, would you take my lion? Would you take my tiger? I'm like, the heck are people doing with lions and tigers in their backyard? Surely there's a law against that, right? There's not. There is in the UK. There was not here. And so that's when we realized there was no way we were going to rescue our way out of this, because hundreds of these tiger cubs were being bred every year to be used as photo props for people to have selfies. And so the only way we could fix that was through better laws. And we started working on a law that actually passed unanimously in 2003.
Through the House?
It passed through the House and the Senate, and the president signed it into law in 2003. And unfortunately, whenever you pass a law, you usually have to make a lot of compromises to get there.
Yeah.
And so the things that we had to give up are the things we're trying to close the loophole on now. So in 2003, we made it illegal to sell a big cat across state lines as a pet.
Okay.
But it still allowed the breeding, it still allowed the private possession, and it still allowed the freaking cub selfies. And that's what drives all of the abuse, is the selfies. So since 2003, all we have been working on is to end the selfies and to phase out private ownership of the cats. And we're really close to getting that done this year. So that will finally bring an end to all of that abuse.
So in
how many cats do you?
Sorry. 94.
How many cats do you currently have? I've been trying to ask this for like 5 minutes.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to. No, it's not your fault, John. I think we have a delay, and then he talks, and he's laughing.
No, it's because she said 94. Like, she literally said 94
she said
just after.
1993, and
that was the year.
Oh.
Yes.
We have 49 cats currently. We had 200.
Wow, that's awesome. I think people are getting a little misconstrued that you paid to take the cats into rescue, but like they were going to die. And,
yeah,
like,
you rescued them.
You guys need to like give her a break. She saved their lives. Whether
people like to hate on us for that. They say, "Oh, that's not a rescue if you paid for the animal."
Silly. I'm sorry about that. We're trying to keep up with the.
That's quite all right. But what makes us different when we do pay for the animals, and we haven't paid for an animal since I think I paid. Well, the last time was in 1997, except for one animal in 1999, and that animal was dying, and I had to pay for the cat to get it to a vet.
Yeah.
But we always have the people sign a contract with us that they will never own another exotic cat. And if they won't sign that contract, we won't take the animal from them. So we don't allow them to be dumping animals on us. To go out and do.
Oh, I've got another one, Carole. Here's another one. Thanks. Okay, so does it kind of work? Do you say to them, we will take on the cat and the expense of feeding it for $33 a day for the rest of its life and give you some money compensation? But if you break the contract and you actually breed or you own them again, then you owe us the money that we've spent. Is that how you end up making sure that they don't break the contract?
Well, it's close. Like I said, after my husband disappeared in 1997, we stopped buying animals. So we only take them, people donate them since then, with that one exception. But whenever we do take an animal, they're all donated to us now, but we still have them sign that contract saying that they'll never own another exotic animal or another exotic cat. And if I even see a photo of them posing with a cat after the date of our contract, then it triggers the payment to us of what it would cost us to take care of that animal for the rest of that animal's life. So that's the penalty. Is like if I take in a tiger who's 10 years old, and we've got tigers out there that are 25 years old now.
Yeah.
So, it's costing us $10,000 per year per cat. In just a 10-year span, you're looking at $100,000 commitment. So if it were a 10-year-old cat that I was taking in, I'd be saying, look, you'd have to pay us $150,000 if I catch you even so much as posing with a cat after this day.
Yeah. So what you're doing is exactly how I would want to do it. I've never been to a circus. I've never been to a zoo. I don't do that. It's not like, I don't agree with it. I don't like it. And when I see pictures of the zoo, it just makes me think, that's why I don't go, because those animals look miserable, right? Now, you're doing exactly how I would do it. And I've seen clips of Exotic Joe and that other industry. Yeah, that the Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt. I wanted to call him Carole. I've seen the documentary, and I know his name is Joe. Whatever. But there's like a part of me that like just my natural instinct, and this isn't like insulting or anything, but I just want to say Joe Dirt.
Because he looks like Joe Dirt from the movie.
Joe Dirt, and I don't mean it in like anyway.
Anyway, he looks like Joe Dirt, but it's the mullet.
The same guy playing him in the Kate McKinnon thing, the guy who played Joe Dirt.
Yeah, it's the same guy. Yeah, they've got the same actor, I think.
David Spade? No.
But what I was going to ask is, you seem to be doing everything right, and Joe and his renting out, pimping them out, posing, renting them, doing all that stuff he's done with. How did you and him ever how did you end up in the same orbit? How did those two worlds come crashing together? Because you seem lovely, who cares about the animals, and he seems like not like you.
That was actually one of my questions.
Sorry, Rach, I didn't mean to.
That's all right. So it's like, how did you guys actually cross paths? And then obviously it escalated, which we'll talk about later.
I wasn't aware of him until 2009, but apparently he was aware of me in 2004. And the reason for the discrepancy is, the media reaches out to me all the time. Whenever there's any kind of a big cat story, they'll always contact Big Cat Rescue and ask for our opinion. And in 2004, Joe had his place, he called it a sanctuary. And he had a lion cub that was very inbred, and she was born deformed. And so he was talking to the media about how he wanted to do a fundraiser for this deformed lion that he had bred. And the reporter contacted me and said, well, what do you think about that? And I said, well, sanctuaries don't breed. And so that was my only comment. And I didn't know who he was talking about, or, he didn't come back up on my radar again until 2009. But apparently that's when he started like ranting and raving and screaming my name to everybody who would listen. So in 2009, part of what I've done for many years is so many people contact me and ask me about different places that instead of, I'd be answering the same freaking questions every single day, hundreds of times a day, I would create a website, and it was called 911animalabuse.com. And each person that I knew was exploiting animals would have a page there under their name, and then all of their business names, because they would typically change their business names.
Change the names, okay.
So that people didn't know it was them that had been cited for some bad thing or that had been in the press for some bad thing. And this way, when somebody looked up their name, they would find all of their history instead of just bits and pieces. And so I had 21 of these that all turned out to be Joe Exotic. And I went to my husband, I'm like, this guy's got 21 different business names he's working under. Look at this. It's the same guy in all of these pictures. And so my husband rewrote the page and did a really good job of summarizing, here's the hundreds of citations that he had by USDA and all of the bad press that he had gotten for, spreading ringworm at the malls, and all of that kind of stuff was on a single page. Well, now Joe was really fired up. He really hated me at that point.
So he latched onto you and just never let go.
So you became a warrior for the cats. He was obviously mistreating the cats and turned up in radars using different names and this, that, and the other. So you put him on blast. You went, yeah, these are the people that turned out to be the same person. And then from that point, he hated you.
He started calling his traveling show where he was abusing these cubs, he started calling it Big Cat Rescue Entertainment. And he used the logo the logo that we use, part of that, he used the masthead off of our website. He he lives in Oklahoma and I live in Tampa, but he took out a Tampa telephone number and a Tampa address to make people think it was us.
Oh no.
Was it part of the documentary? Because that seems like very familiar.
I don't know if it was in the documentary. It's been like a year since I've watched it. I watched it 7 times, but
on that note,
have you? Sorry, I was gonna say. You go ahead, Mitch.
How did that documentary even come about? Like, whose documentary was it? Because I know at the end, they sort of made you look like the villain, but there were parts in that documentary where he didn't look so great either. So I'm a little lost as to whose documentary that was. Like,
and you keep on calling it a documentary. It was reality TV. It was enhanced, wasn't it? It was.
Was it okay?
It
well,
was not a documentary.
I'll call it
the truth.
Whose idea was it for this show? Did he call in and ask, and it kind of just blew up in his face a little bit?
Yeah, is he that off the wall? He was like, "Yeah, come film me. Look at me," and then he basically incriminated himself from everything.
Well, I don't know what happened on his part. But what happened from him taking our name was we had to stop him from doing that. So we sued him and we got $1 million judgment against him. So that is what has been since 2011 or 2012 when we got the judgment.
You took $1 million off him?
Well, no, because he's been running through bankruptcy court ever since then.
Oh, bless you. Oh, yeah. I thought you were winning.
As far as whose documentary or whose show this was, like I said, people always come to us whenever they're doing a show. So we allow people to film here for free. We are always happy to talk about the issues. We don't want to talk about these people or be derogatory toward the people individually, but we would talk about how these cubs are bred and exploited and discarded, and it's actually causing the extinction of the tiger. And we would educate them as to, who all the players were in this, who all the animal protection groups are and who they need to talk to there, who all of the exploiters are, because they're on the 911animalboost.com site, that they should go and talk to and see their places. And so at the time that we were talking to the producers of Tiger King, this started 5 years before Tiger King came out. We were also talking with Mike Weber, who just came out with the conservation game that just won an award at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. And we just did the DC premiere, which is why I'm still kind of like reeling, because I just got in last night about 11 o'clock from doing the premiere in DC for that.
Jeez.
And there were other films at the same time. Hidden Tiger, we were working with those producers. And the producers from Tiger King said that they were working on a show called Stolen Wildlife, and that what they wanted to do was to show how these animals are taken from their mothers. These baby cubs are taken from their mothers as soon as they're born. They're exploited until they're about 12 to 16 weeks old and can't be handled anymore because they can take a finger off a child. And then how they end up in backyards as pets or being discarded into tiger mills or even being killed for their parts. And so we were happy to work with them and did.
Yeah, you said, yeah, come along. Come on.
And so,
that's
they
terrible.
all of the bad guys that were doing those kinds of things. And you guys saw the kind of footage that they were able to get there, but they didn't show even a small percentage of the egregious abuse that goes on, because I think people don't want to see that. And
like it became a personality. Like it was more about him personality than the caring or what actually happened to the animals. Is that you thought it kind of ended up?
In 2018, they told us that they were trying to sell it to CNN, and CNN had been the one that had bought Blackfish. Did you guys ever see that? It was the one about orcas in seaquariums and
or in SeaWorld. No,
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Well, it was what changed SeaWorld. I mean, they no longer have a breeding program for orcas because people were outraged. They no longer take orcas from the wild because people just lost their minds when they learned that was what was happening. And Stolen Wildlife was supposed to be that film for big cats that would expose all of that kind of stuff. But in 2018, they came to us and said CNN wasn't buying it. And CNN's the one that had bought Blackfish. And then they wanted everybody to sign a new contract. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And the contracts were just, release forms allowing them to use whatever they shot. And they came out and they asked a whole bunch of questions about my husband at that time, my late husband. And I answered the questions, but I said, why does that have anything to do with this issue of stealing cubs from their mothers? And they said, well, you know, the bad guys always say all that stuff about you. And I was like, yeah, but nobody has ever believed it because it's not true. You can go right down to the courthouse and see that these things are false.
Okay.
And they didn't bother to do it. And I think what happened was when CNN didn't buy it, they had to turn it into something that was saleable.
A circus. Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Dramas.
Because I'm starting to understand. I'm starting to understand this now. You were trying to do the good thing, stop bad people breeding, doing some stuff like that, signing people into contracts,
Which
looking after
puts other
animals,
people out of business,
right?
It makes other people.
And then not only did you put Joe on blast, right, but you also sued him for using all your stuff, and you became his enemy. Like you became his number one enemy. So the network, they're filming for like, hey, we're about cubs, about wildlife, about the cats. And then they checked and they were like, let's just make this about Joe and his beef with the other breeders or the other sanctuaries. And that's how you got dragged into that shit show. Because it is bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. Yeah, I think that explains it to me. Because I was just like, just heard stuff like, and I'd seen stuff on social media. And I was like, oh, there's just these crazy cat people. One of them's gay. One of them had a husband that went missing. Nobody knows what happened. Like, it's just a bonkers show. That's what I thought. But now I'm starting to see it a lot more clear, and I hope everybody else is as well.
We actually put a page out. The reason I watched it 7 times is I felt like they did such a masterful job of painting me as this villain. And, you know, I mean, it was just even little things like what you were seeing on the screen when you were hearing somebody say something would make it even more villainous. Like, you know, they're talking about how my husband
put some music with it,
chewing bones, and it's like, no wonder people made that association in their head. So I minute by minute through the entire thing, and it's posted at bigcatrescue.org/Netflix.
I wanted to ask about the show. What didn't they show in there that you wish that they did? And as a follow-up question, like, what did they show that were blatant lies? Because we were on TV, we know how editing works, and drama sells. And even when you didn't say something, it made you look like you said something.
And some
like,
music, some dramatic music.
The dramatic music, like, what part of that? Yeah, it's awful. So what part of that would you like to defend yourself? You know what I mean? If you could, like, what was the worst part that they showed of you that wasn't true? Do you know, other than like the missing ex-husband thing? That is all here.
Missing husband.
Yeah, he's not an ex-husband. I mean. We didn't divorce.
Late husband. I'm sorry.
I know it's hard. It's like, what do I call him? I don't know. I don't even when I call him my late husband, it's like just to define him as different from the husband that I'm married to now.
Yeah.
Right. John and I were actually talking about that. Like, what do you refer to somebody who, you know, you didn't get a divorce, you're still like technically married, you know what I mean? Like, how do you label that? But I did hear you say late husband, so I'm gonna stick with that.
He was declared dead after 5 years, so you know there's that kind of a definition for it, even though I don't have any closure on that personally. I think one of the things that was most blatant in the film was they had asked me what I would say to Joe Exotic or Doc Antle or Tim Stark, those guys, about the horrible things they were doing to animals. And I said, I wouldn't say anything to any of them. They're not going to listen to me because it affects their livelihood. Well, in the film, the question that's posed is, what would you say to Don's daughters? And then they use that, what I had said about the
editing
bad guy for abusing animals. And it's like, I would not have talked to his daughters that way. And everybody knew that, you know, you're filming, and yet they chose to stick that in there. It was like, look at her being girls.
The editors are evil.
Carole, I'll tell you something, right?
We know that firsthand, Carole.
I'll tell you something though, like, this is the truth. I grew up on a council estate. In America, you would call it the projects. Dads go missing all the time. Like, it is not strange that somebody just disappeared. Like, but your problem is you had a load of lions, and I guess like if you had somebody that hates you, do you know what? If I had a garden full of crocodiles, my ex-girlfriend better not go missing. Like, does that make sense? Like, and for you, who it was your husband, I can't even imagine how hurtful it must be to have hundreds of people messaging you, accusing you of killing your husband, accusing you of being involved, accusing you of, like, as a human who's got a wife, like, I understand why people like that narrative. It's exciting and it's like it's juicy. But as a person, and I'm speaking to you now, like my heart breaks to imagine what that must be like for you to go, I don't know. And I've watched a few videos, and I don't know, just how have you coped with the thousands and thousands of people throwing this in your face? Like how?
We were like millions, because
Millions.
Yeah.
Definitely millions.
Oh.
Yeah.
not too many people bothered to do any kind of research to see whether or not it was true. So it's the vast majority, I think, that are still out there.
Well, if it's on the internet, it must be true. So
Pardon?
I said if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Or Netflix, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't take that personally, and I think you could probably understand this, because if I were to accuse you of, like you just said, if you've got a girlfriend that's missing, you have a backyard full of crocodiles, and I say, you know what, he fed her to the crocodiles, and you're like, that's ridiculous. Of course I didn't. And so you're not going to take it personally that people say that sort of thing about you.
Yeah, but I'm not on reality TV. Like,
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, but not with crocodiles. Yeah, but not with crocodiles.
Not with crocodiles.
But if somebody said that about somebody you loved, about your significant other or your mother or your daughter or your son, then all of a sudden you feel like you have to defend them. So I think this has been way, way worse on my family and friends than it has been on me.
Oh. Can we just sorry, Rach, before we move on, I just wanted to say, like, I watched some clips and I watched your rebuttals on your YouTube, and I watched you go through and answer stuff. But I didn't see anything about your husband. I didn't see anything about Don. I was disappearance. How did he? Well, no, I didn't see like how he disappeared. Like, I think I heard something about a plane. Like, did he take the plane and just not come back in the plane? So the plane is somewhere with is he with the plane, or like, or did he just leave on a Wednesday and like what happened?
Well, that's it. I don't know. You know, if I knew sure what happened, then this would never have become this crazy thing that it's become. I had a lot of theories at the beginning when he first disappeared 23 years ago, because I knew he was failing mentally and I was trying to get him the medical help that he needed. It turned out that he was bipolar, but I didn't find out about that diagnosis until I was digging through his stuff, looking for clues as to where he may have gone, that I found that diagnosis. And so he wasn't getting any kind of medication for that. And he was making a lot of really bad business decisions, getting involved with the mafia down in Costa Rica. And so I had a lot of theories about, oh my gosh, what could have happened to him? But when you look at it all, 23 years later, nobody's ever come forward. None of the people that he was involved with that I had to end up settling with, including the people that he said were mafia, nobody killed me. Nobody tried to kill me. I mean, the animal abusers have tried to kill me since then, but not during that period of time. And so the only thing that makes sense was kind of that Occam's razor, the most obvious thing. His van was found at the airport, and I know he was trying to buy an ultralight or an experimental plane. I know that he didn't have a license, so he couldn't file a flight plan, even though the sheriff's office said, well, he didn't file a flight plan, so he couldn't have flown away. It's like, he couldn't read or write. That's why he didn't have a license. And he knew that. So the only time he could take off from an airport was while they were closed. And so he was flying all over the place. We had several planes. But if he had gotten somebody to agree to sell him an ultralight or an experimental something they had built in their backyard and said, hey, meet me out at the airport early in the morning, Guy flies in, or woman, I don't know which, and Don decides, yeah, I'm going to pay cash for this. And so they fly the plane back, and then Don flies back into town, or tries to fly back into town, and ends up crashing over.
So he took the
back
plane, never flown before, and then just didn't make it back somewhere. Okay.
Well, that's your best guess. I mean, he did that kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
since he couldn't fly at normal levels, because you had, if you've ever heard the term staying under the radar, that's a real thing. Radar is 200 feet. And so he had to fly under 200 feet. And because of the updrafts and downdrafts of, flying over trees and buildings and that sort of thing, he would go out over the Gulf. So the minute he'd take off, he would go out over the Gulf, stay over the Gulf for as long as he could, and then come back in over land.
So he did fly regular, but he didn't have a license, so he couldn't do it legally. Is that what the score was? Okay, so he was a sneaky, illegal flyer, and you think he just went and bought a plane and is somewhere. Well, I think you've answered.
The person that sold him the plane, who they don't want to talk about how they sold him something that he may have killed himself in.
Yeah. Well, I think that doesn't answer it. But in my head, and this, I'm going to say this to everyone that's watching. I don't know how many people are here, right? If you wanted to, women want to kill their husbands all the time, right? Women get mad, men cheat. Women do want to kill their husbands all the time. But if you wanted to do that, you wouldn't make him disappear because you've got lions. That would make you look really guilty. You'd poison him or give him a heart attack or push him down the stairs. I don't think, after speaking to you, that it would make sense to have a disappearing husband. Not when you've got 50 lions and a meat grinder in the back of the shed. So I believe you, is what I'm trying to say, and that's the way I want people to rationalize it. It would be the worst way for you to get rid of someone.
And we
so
didn't
I
have
believe
a
you.
meat grinder in the shed. That meat grinder had been gone years before Dom was gone, and it was little teeny thing. You couldn't possibly put more than like a chicken leg through it. And the whole thing of it being 5 years. I mean, if somebody wanted to kill somebody for the money, they're not going to do it in a way that causes them to have to wait 5 years and have to feed hundreds of big cats for 5 years with no income. I mean, that would just be absolutely foolish. So, I mean, there's so many reasons why nobody would go that route, regardless of whether or not they had big cats.
But I suppose at the time, that was a long time ago. You were looking for him. It was 5 years had gone by. Your life moved on. This thing happened, and then Joe started throwing these allegations back at your face. At the same time, it's blown up on social media. It must have been a nightmare. I couldn't even imagine. We had the fake news, fake stories about us, but I couldn't imagine how hard it would have been for you. It's bonkers.
What we were going to say, what I'm trying to say is before we did this, we said we weren't going to this is probably the number one question you're asked, the number one thing you talk about all the time. And I can't imagine how annoying this must be for you. So I didn't want this to go on forever and ever. I'm more interested in Joe Exotic, just because the story itself, he threatened your life on his YouTube channel, did he not? Pulling out a gun and publicly put that out there on purpose. Did you actually fear for your life on a day-to-day basis? When you woke up, every time you went somewhere, were you looking behind your back? Did you have legitimate concern about your safety?
From the 1990s, when I started trying to change the laws so that people could not abuse these big cats, I have had so many of these people that abuse big cats threaten to kill me. Dennis Hill was the guy from Flat Rock, Indiana. He was in a film called The Tiger Next Door. He was in Tiger King too. He was that guy with the long white beard. And he was the first person to ever threaten to kill me. And then there was a guy here locally in Miami. His name was Alan Riggerman. Every time I would go to a Florida Wildlife Commission hearing, because I go argue for better laws to protect the cats, he would show up there and physically try to threaten me, verbally threaten me. There's a right across the bay from me. His name's Vernon Yates. He has physically threatened and grabbed my hair. He has tried to knock me down from behind at one of these meetings. And one of my volunteers, a little old lady, got bashed in the process of him trying to get to me. And then some circus guy started beating him up so that we could all run to the car. So I have to hire bodyguards when I go to speak at these events. I've had all kinds of things happen at my house, like opening up my mailbox and finding it full of spiders, opening my mailbox full of snakes, having my mailbox wired to look like it was wired with a bomb so that when you flip the flag up, it was going to set it off, and having to have the bomb squad come out and just take it all apart. Joe threatening constantly on TV and in his, not TV, but his little YouTube channel.
YouTube.
And, yeah. He called it TV, but it was a YouTube channel.
I'm sure he did.
And then in 2015, this was left out of Tiger King, but in 2015 was the first time people started calling me and saying that Joe was trying to pay them to kill me. And a woman called me and said that her husband was a sharpshooter. Now, he was in Tiger King, but he denied that he ever agreed to do it. She said that Joe had offered to pay him if he would kill me, and she felt like I should know about that. And then another woman called me and said Joe had tried to pay her $10,000 to kill me. And then it wasn't until the FBI contacted my husband and said there's an imminent threat on her life, and he's tried to hire one hitman. We're trying to get an undercover FBI agent in place so that we can at least control what he's doing, and you don't have a hitman in the wind. And it turned out we did have a hitman in the wind that nobody knew was out there because they thought they knew who it was and they didn't know. So, am I fearful? Yeah, there's a lot of really bad people out there that are constantly coming for me.
I don't know much about how long Joe is going to be in prison, but if
I wouldn't worry about that.
If he does get out, are you going to be back on that? I mean, for obvious reasons, back on the paranoid state of mind and all. Are you going to be scared about that? Or maybe you could tell me more, because it's been a long time since I've seen the documentary as well, and I don't know how long he's supposed to be in prison, but is he going to get out? And if he does, how do you feel about that? Like, what would you do to protect yourself from there?
He was sentenced to 22 years in prison, and because it's federal, you have to serve almost all of that. You don't get out early. But
good. I'm glad.
Part of the reason that he got such a stiff sentence was there was about a year in between the time that he was convicted and the time that he was given the sentence. And during that year in prison, he was still working from prison, trafficking in endangered species in order to try and raise money, and was successfully doing it. And the judge knew about it, and he called him on it and said, "This is why we're going to keep you where you are." But it showed me that then he's got nothing to lose. He's in jail. He's still, in fact, there's a book that just came out from one of his cellmates about how all of these little old ladies believe that Joe is innocent because he's such a charming con artist. And they're constantly sending him money, and he's been making money off of a book deal and these NFTs. Yeah. And he can certainly hire a hitman from prison now.
Yeah, they do that all the time.
He's already in jail for it. So I think I'm in as much danger as ever, maybe more. And the authorities only caught the dumbest one of these people. I mean, people like Doc Antle and Mario Tabro, the guy that said he was the model for Scarface. I mean, that guy had been sentenced to 100 years in prison for being the biggest cocaine dealer that had ever been caught in Florida and a wildlife trafficker. And he got out in 12 years for turning state's evidence. So, those are people that I really worry about.
So you still are kind of waking up every day in fear. So even if it doesn't really matter if he's in prison or not, because like you brought up the really good point that people do hire hitmen inside of prison all the time. So that sucks, Carole. I'm sorry. That's
I was just gonna say, your husband's older, you're older. Like, you guys have lived. Like, are you gonna do this until the end, or are you gonna let somebody else take it over? What's your twilight years plan? Because you've done it your whole life, but having people after you, and when you're young, you can you can troll the bad guy. You put Joe on blast. You said you ruin their plans, and like I don't know, like when are you gonna step away from it and go and retire on a beach and just enjoy not worrying about people that are scumbags, because they are scumbags. That's how I would see them.
I don't see anybody lining up to take my place. As soon as somebody wants to be the person with the target on their back who goes after the bad guys and says, I'm not quitting until every one of them is in jail, until that person comes along, who else is going to do it if I don't do it?
Do you regret being
I've never
a
been
part
to a zoo.
of this show?
Do
you regret being a part of this show?
I don't, because even though it was just awful for my family and has been a real, annoyance to me, the good news is that before the show came out, people just didn't even understand that this huge big cat crisis existed. And they certainly didn't understand that the breeding of cats in captivity was actually causing the extinction of tigers in the wild. And now, at least, I've got the platform to be able to get that message out there and to try and change things before we all lose the tiger in the wild.
You know what I love?
That's
about
incredible.
This answer? Hold on, babe. What I love about this answer is that I was talking about your personal safety, and you're like, yeah, for that reason, but the cats, and you just went straight for like your love for these tigers and these cats, and that I love that. I think that was really cool, because you're like, yeah, I mean, clearly, but these cats, I love that, Carole. It was good.
No, I think it's amazing that, like, even though this whole thing has come up, they dragged up the stuff about your husband, they made you look bad, all this stuff. There are people who love cats, and like me, I didn't know anything about the US law. Rachel loves cats. Like, people have been dragged into this, like you said, and then when they get here, they've got to then find the truth with you, and then understand that Joe is not a good person. He's not a good person.
No,
and
he went on his YouTube channel and held a gun and said, Carole, I'm gonna kill you. Like, who does that? If you're gonna do that, like, what sane-minded person? Like, if you're planning on killing someone, first of all, you're not sane. But to do it publicly, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, he's just not a good person, and I'm glad that I put up on. Actually, I'll put it back up. I did put the website up on the screen so everyone can see it. Big Cat Rescue, bigcatrescue.org. Everyone, you should be able to see that now. Go look at the website. There's live feeds. There's a donation page. There's all the videos, and it's just a wonderful website. And I was on it for a couple of hours yesterday. So I'm really, I'm impressed with everything you've done. And
thank you.
As
Carole,
much
you're in the UK. Did you see the BBC piece that Louis Theroux did called "Shooting Joe Exotic"?
I got told about it today. I was in a cafe.
It's really good. It shows who Joe really is, and
I was in a cafe. I was in a cafe this morning.
Shooting Joe Exotic.
Shooting Joe Exotic. It was
the guy with Louis Theroux.
The first person to ever show all of the abuse that was going on there back in 2011.
Yeah.
And then after Tiger King came out, he was like, you know what? I have footage of Joe.
I can revisit this.
Man, back in 2011.
Yeah. Wow. He filmed with Joe in 2011. And I don't know if they didn't use it or it just didn't take off or it just got shelved. But after the Tiger King jumped off, they had loads of footage. So I got told about that today.
Yeah, the first one he did in 2011 was called America's Most Dangerous Pets, and that aired here in the US too. And that just had a very small part about Joe because it was talking about a lot of these crazy people with the animals, same people that are in Tiger King for the most part. And so it was really interesting for him to see that he was the first person to really notice this entire subculture.
Somebody just said, Karen just said, I feel so sad for Carole. She seems like a genuine, lovely person with a huge heart and even bigger love for large cats. Oh, and I think that's how I feel. Like, I'm just like, you are lovely,
That's what I was gonna say. You're like you're cool as a cucumber. You're like so.
You didn't say cat.
Collected.
Oh no.
No matter what anyone says, like you're like, whatever. you know, and I think I've learned a lot from you because people still attack my husband and I. And I'm going to take on a Carole Baskin attitude from now on. Like, not that I don't already, because sometimes, like, you bite your tongue long enough and it bleeds, you know, and then you just lash out. But I can only imagine how much crap you're given on a daily basis, and you still seem so kind. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And good for you. Good for you. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I'd go in hiding and like shut down social media forever.
Yeah.
You're impressive right now.
And for anyone that is watching, there's I don't know a lot of people on at the moment, right? Carole has got a YouTube channel, and she debunks everything that was wrong with the documentary, and she goes
with
point
a
by
smile
point.
on her face. Which is what I love.
And she just went through and she said, this is wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. You know, me and Rachel had a lot of fake news about us, lies, just trolls making up lies. And we wanted to make a big show and be like, there's the passport with the stamp. This is when that happened. We never did. But it was amazing that you did. So anyone who doubts or anyone who's trying to bring stuff up, ask her about the septic tank. They can go to your YouTube and they can see how you've answered it over there. So like, I don't know. I'm happy that you're not mental. I think it's cool that you got these cats.
Yes, Carole. Thank you for being not mental.
I don't believe.
And I have a 6 o'clock I have to get off on too, so I'm going to have to.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. No, thank you so much. We're going to end it now.
Thank you for joining us.
Time.
It was my pleasure.
Thank
you.
We had so much fun. Thank you,
Carole. If you go, I'm gonna stay and unwind and have a little chat about you. But thank you for joining.
Thank you, Carole.
I'll shut this down.
Bye, Carole.
You down, right?
No. If I just.
Oh, what happened?
I just did it.
But she was talking.
There you are. Sorry. Hi.
Don't stop
She's gone. No, she did that time.
Aww.
Oh, Rachel, we did it.
Yay! I like.
We're a bit clumsy. I like her as well.
Well, kind of, because like this was like the John.
We got this
interview. I have my list of questions here, and you letting me talk. So.
Oh, babe.
No, but no, I love her mannerism. Like, believe her or not, like that's your own opinion. But I was reading the chat, and somebody did say like, let her speak her truth. Everyone deserves to speak their truth. You don't have to agree or whatever, but you also don't have to be rude. You know what I mean? So.
I put a lot of people in timeout today.
Good.
You put them in timeout and they get banned for 5 minutes or something.
You're
so
allowed to have your opinion, but chill out. No, that was a lot of fun. Oh, that was really cool.
Somebody said, should we poll who John and Rachel should interview next? So somebody said, should we do a poll to see who John and Rachel should interview next?
Yes, please do, because this was a lot of fun. Like, I want to do this. Somebody also said that we need.
Can you see it on the screen?
Show.
You see it on the screen, Rach?
No, you're frozen. You've been frozen like 95% of this time.
We should make a list of the dream interviews for John and Rachel.
Well, I joked and said that we should contact the jail and like do an interview with Joe Exotic, but I don't know about that.
Rachel, he's dying of cancer. He's not going to be doing anything. And I got nothing to say to an animal abuser.
No, I don't want to egg him on. Like, he's threatened to kill somebody over what may or may not be true, like whatever. He went nuts, and no thanks. So.
Rachel, when she said, well, the thing is, I don't think else would want. When you said, I don't think anyone else would want to take over my spot. Have a target on the back. I was like, yeah. I was like, I could do that. How cool would that be, though, babe?
Yeah. No, I like the idea of doing a poll, and let's see if we can reach out. No, it's not worth it to interview him, Teresa. You're right. Let's see who else we can reach out to. Not related to Carole Baskin. I'm seeing like interview Joe Exotic's husband, Dylan, and this and that. I'm good. But who would you like us to reach out to and ask for an interview? Because this could be fun. We got Carole Baskin, y'all. Like, what?
Yeah, I'm pleasantly. Because I watched a lot of her videos yesterday. And she is as nice as I thought she would be, but I just wanted to lay it all out for everyone.
Somebody said Big Ed. Do you want to do an interview with Big Ed?
We can't.
I don't watch the show anymore.
He's blocked me.
All I know that is shocker.
Yeah.
I know that he did mayo in his hair and He thinks he's like hot stuff. That's all I know.
Yeah, he's bad.
But
But,
well, not necessarily 90 Day Fiance related, because I still am in America and I don't want someone like trying to find me. So how about you guys message us, give us some ideas of who you'd be interested in us talking to.
Yeah, but thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for the super chats. I saw a few coming in. I don't know if yeah, I'm not sure where these came in, but yeah, we got some. I don't know if you can see them on the screen, but thanks guys for the lovely little super chats that we got. They all go into a pot somewhere, and then in 3 to 6 months we get paid. So thank you very much. Like it means a lot.
There's a lot of viewers too. It was like 120 at one point. So now everybody's left because she's gone. You don't want to talk to us? Just kidding. I really do have to pee though.
Yeah, I need to go as well. So yeah, guys, thanks for joining us. We should
send
do
us
more.
some messages. My Facebook, my Instagram, John's Facebook, John's Instagram, YouTube, whatever, about who you'd want us to talk to, because we could try to reach out to them. It'd be a lot of fun.
Okay, everybody. Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you for sticking it out.
Bye.
Bye, John. I love you.
I love you too, babe. Oh, I gotta wait a minute. Yeah, she asked you to write who you want. Chef, great chat, guys. Bye, guys. Bye. I just thought there'd be a delay. I thought before I cancel it, I'll let you get your messages in. But yeah, thanks, guys, for joining us today.